Bole Baba Ki Jai. And we're here at the ashram in Crestone, Colorado, at the Haidakhandi Universal Ashram. And it just seemed like a wonderful time to get together and share some stories, since we have 3 people here, Marty and Marina and Ramloti, who were here at the inception of the ashram pretty much from 86 and 87, 1986, 87. And then also Arnie and Diane, who have been coming for the last several years. Arnie, who you may have watched in a satsang earlier, who met Babaji in 1982, yes, and was there the same time I was there with my boys. And he and his wife have been coming since then. But then to find out that Diane also had earlier experiences at Ashram. So this is not necessarily just about this ashram, but it's just curious how we keep coming back, why we come to ashrams. And I just thought it might be interesting for people. And Jen's here now for the last few weeks. And that's whole nother perspective of what brought her, how she got here, and what is she finding here at an ashram. So, Arnie, do you want to share a little bit about ashrams?
Sure, I could just talk about what it means for me. When I think about ashram, well, I think about like a place for spiritual practice where you can drop, where I can drop my sort of role, whatever role that is out in the world there, and just be a human being in spiritual practice, a place to do sadhana, really, to do spiritual practice in a community. And yeah, that's what I love about it, and especially this ashram where people, all sorts of people come, and even children, little ones, and there's a home for them. It's like a home where there isn't any expectation, and the relationship with people is more of a fellowship and a brother and sister and there's no, I guess, expectation to be anything except your authentic self and to live from that. So that's what I appreciate about this place, and of course, for me it has great significance because it's where the seed of Babaji's message to North America really is, right here. And that connection with Babaji goes very deep back to 1982, and still churning out all the lessons from the short time that I had with Babaji, and it's still working in me. And when I come to the ashram, I'm reminded of those things and reminded of all the memories. And it's interesting how those memories come up for me, and sometimes very obscure. I've been remembering little things that I had forgotten till now. So it's a reminder, an ashram is a reminder of a spiritual home that I have, and that even though I know that Babaji is everywhere, that he may not be in his body, but he is everywhere, and in my heart in particular. And this place is just a strong reminder of that.
Thank you. He and his wife, Diane, come all the way from Canada. Who would like to share next? Marty, do you want to share a little bit about it?
Well, what I was thinking of saying is that I think meditating can be hard for people, and I think if you get to do it in a community, I find that it just goes deeper, and it's easier to be serene. And so that's why coming to an ashram or any kind of spiritual community is very helpful if you want to go within and go deeper. But what's interesting about this particular spiritual community is there's so much emphasis on karma yoga, so that you don't have to sit and meditate all the time, or even wouldn't be silent all the time. Though that's what I did in India a lot, is I didn't talk, and it was great. So there, you know, we get to do activities, but activities that we can focus on and be out with nature, because that's a lot of the spiritual benefit of being in this location is being so close to nature and the mountains and the beautiful view of the valley from here. So that's what I think is really special about this place.
So how did you hear about the ashram way back in 1987?
Even before 1987, I got a hold of Sandra on the phone, and she says, "Do you want to go to India?" And I said, "Not this year." Which got out of my mouth, and I go, I hadn't even been thinking about going to India. So I was in graduate school, and so I decided that maybe I should go, you know, kind of like a present to myself. So I was going to go on the Sandra Ray trip with her in '88, and she said, "You live in Denver, so it'd be really good for you to get ready for ashram life to go to Baca." So I arranged to do that on weekends off, and I tried to come here like once a month for about 6 months before I left on my trip. And you know, you get used to more communal living and the simple aspects of sleeping arrangements and working together on a project. And there were a lot of projects, especially with this ashram in the beginning, because we were getting the land ready for all the building that was going on there. So
Cool. Just a wonderful weekend with all these folks here. Oh, we're here to Marina. In those days, she was known as Maureen, but like all of us, we have a few names.
yeah.
So, I'm not sure what to share, but, you know, I had read years ago in the 80s, early 80s, I'd read Autobiography of a Yogi, and that moved me so much that I wanted to go to India, I wanted to find a spiritual master, you know, and I moved into a tent in my backyard, and I had a family, because I thought that was my version of going to India.
Was moving into a tent in your backyard.
I think how crazy I was. I don't know, but it made sense at the time to me.
Where were you?
And I was in Los Angeles.
And
My 2 kids are young, and I was married, and I had no idea where to go and how to do it, right? And then a few years later, some years later, 84, I guess, I went and I did the loving relationships training with Sandra. So then she got up on stage at some big event and said, "I'm planning my trip to India that I go every year in the white marble temple." Somehow that stuck. I said, "Boom." And it was like somebody cast a line and put a fishing hook right in the third eye and reeled in. I could feel it. It was like, whoa. And I went to Sandra, and it was like, I can't remember what it was, like August or something. I said, I'm going with you to India. "Oh, no, you don't have time." "No." I said, "I'm going this year." And like within 3 weeks or something, I was in India, okay? So it was profound for me, the experience. And it was so fast. And that was must have been 1986, okay. So I wasn't prepared. I hadn't done any preparation or anything. I just wanted to go to India and find my spiritual master, right? And so I get to the ashram, I said, "Okay, where's Babaji?" And they're like, "No, Babaji died a year and a half ago, you know." I'm like, what? You know, and I felt like, oh my God, I'm late. I'm always late, you know. And I was so upset. I left my children, I came halfway around the world, Babaji's not even here. I was so upset for a few days. You know, we were in Haidakhandi for 3 days, I think, and then we were going to Chile Nola after that for the festival. But on the last day in Haidakhandi, I was at the door to let us into Babaji's courtier, his sleeping quarter, you know? This tiny little room, and so, but his energy was there. So we were able to go in and sit down, two of us sit down in there, and so I sat down, and suddenly Babaji's presence was just there with me, you know, so strong. It was like pink light, and then I had a vision. I was washing his feet, you know, and I was transfixed by the energy, and I thought, oh my God, Babaji is here. He hasn't died, right? So I felt his energy so strong, and it was such a feeling of love is a thing that I feel with Babaji, you know? It's this unconditional love that, you know, the way I grew up in our life in America, we don't feel this kind of love a lot. And so I was transfixed, I couldn't move. And Ramlati doesn't remember this, but she was at the door, and she just let me sit there. So everybody's coming and going, and I was just sitting there, I couldn't move, you know, so that would happen. And so that was it. I thought, no, Babaji's, I'm connected, you know. And then he started talking to me in my head, you know. If I had a question, he would answer, you know. I'm like, wow, that's incredible, you know. But it was this heart-opening experience of love, right? And then we did the whole Navratri, and then Ramlati said, we're building an ashram in Crestone, so got back to the U.S., came here. Because I wanted that feeling, that love, that camaraderie to it, you know? And so on my second trip to India, was 2 years later, I said, Babaji, what? I don't get it. I was still mystified by the whole thing, you know? Why can I love you, feel so much love for you, but other people I have a little problem? You know? And he said, he said, because I have no fear. So I totally got that.
I have no what?
I have no fear. I realized, yeah, Babaji is pure love without any fear. And so I was able to love him and feel this love back because there was no fear in the mix. Where we all have our limits, our blocks, you know. And I thought, yeah, I want to learn that. That's what I want to learn. And so that's to me what the ashram is about, you know. You come here and you work with people, and everyone is on that path. And, you know, Babaji is, to me, unconditional love incarnate, or, you know, in spirit even. And so that's what I think our goal as humans, you know, to reach that. Because that's the ultimate goal of God, is love, right? And so Babaji was there. And so that's what I feel at the ashram. So to me, it's my, you know, like you all said, it's my spiritual home. You know, it's my base where I can come and just feel that love again, you know? And so, and it's about the community, you know, working together and that focus, you know, on unconditional caring, giving, working, you know, giving all the work we do, we just do it with love. And so that's what I learn here, and so that's why I keep coming back, because, you know, I try to do it in the world. We probably all try to do it in the world, but sometimes, you know, it's a little challenging. So to come here, it's this pure space where everyone's focused on that. You know, so thank you for building this beautiful ashram.
Thank you, everybody. It's
Yeah.
really so special. So maybe we'll go over here to, do you have a little bit to share about how you got, I know you had a different lineage.
Well, reflecting on your question about why we come to ashrams. My first experience at an ashram, I was only 16. And I do believe it was love that drew me. That I had a yoga teacher, and I was really devoted to her, and she was devoted to her guru, and I followed her to an ashram and a who am I intensive, and I spent some years visiting that ashram, but it was through some kind of longing for that connection. But one of the connections that I believe is the same connection that I make here with Babaji and through Arnie too. There was the Kripalvananda, Swami Kripalvananda was in America for a year or two towards the end of his life, and his guru was an incarnation of Lord Lakulish, who is an incarnation of Lord Shiva. And I've heard some people say that that's the same being or energy as Babaji. And while he was there in Pennsylvania, we had a tent set up. And it was very much like being in a cave. We were doing 24-hour japa in there and taking, rotating through every hour or two in pairs. And I spent some time in there doing japa, and I was so enveloped in love. I felt a really personal connection to that energy, and very deeply personal, that, never, it's like made that connection that never leaves. And subsequently, and when I met Arnie later in the West Coast, and found out that he had recently visited India and connected with Haidakhandi Baba. And I don't know how, we figured out that there was a connection there, but I do feel like we had been sort of thrown together by Baba to say, there you go, work things out. And why I keep coming to ashrams and monasteries and so on is to strengthen that connection. Because when I go out in the world and in family life and so on, I feel like I get duller, and my various, faulty strategies in life, anger and greed and resentment and that sort of thing, fear, can get larger and that connection gets smaller. And every time I come and do practice where that's the focus, my heart opens more, I make that connection stronger and clearer every time, and that builds over years, and I'm able to practice that more in my daily life, and so I need and deeply appreciate those of you who live in these communities and practice and pray for us all the time, and do things like the fire ceremony that it benefits the whole world and beyond, I believe. I understand that that's strengthening me back at home even. So I'm happy to come and participate, even though I didn't choose this as a path for living. My family upholds it, and it's an incredible blessing and grace. Thanks.
Anyway, so I'm Ramati, and it's always, I think it's interesting when people tell me all the time that it's heartwarming and also inspiring to hear other people's stories. And some people have heard this before, but when I went to see Babaji in 1981, sort of like your stories, like I heard about him, and it's like nothing could hold me back. And I had no money, I had $100 spending money. I didn't get a visa in those days. You could go for 30 days without a visa. I didn't even have a passport, so I barely got a passport and a ticket. And then when I found him, he wasn't even in Haidakhandi. He had to go all the way down to Bombay, which was Bombay in those days, and to Gujarat, and then the big tent of people there, and I didn't know what was going on. They were singing songs in the language I didn't understand. There certainly weren't books in those days, and most people didn't even speak English in Gujarat at that point, 81. So I was sitting in there and looking at Babaji and hearing all this, the arti was what was being sung. and I just started weeping and weeping. When I went, I had been working on my master's and PhD in psychology. As I sat there, I knew I would never finish those degrees, and that I would do this the rest of my life. And I didn't even know what this was, so it was like an interesting experience, and here I am today. It's been quite a bit of the rest of my life has been here. So then when I became president of the American Samaj, and then when Muni Raj and Sastraji came to Crestone in '85, and then they came again in '86, we as a group of a few hundred people voted to build an ashram here, and Hannah Strong showed us some property that we could purchase for a very small amount of money. And everybody voted yes, and I raised my hand volunteering to be one of 3 people to come and live here, and then got to meet all these wonderful people. So that's how I got here. Why do I stay here? I think similar stories to everybody's. I particularly love the working together. I think that's some of my happiest moments when we're all in there, taking everything out of the bins and hanging things up. And there's a lot to do here. So when there's quite a few people here, we often working together. And it's just, Babaji said, make ashrams around the world. Make big ashrams where many people can come and live together and learn to work together. So I think that's a really important thing. And he talks about work really being an important part of the salvation of this world. That we all learn to work in harmony and peace together. He says there will be peace. So that's what I love. One of the things I love about the ashram. So maybe we could turn it to Jen. Are you prepared for this? No, but Jen called a couple of weeks ago, interested in coming, and here she is.
So this is only the second ashram I've visited. Never been to India or had a physical teacher or anything like that. But basically, what brought me to the idea of an ashram was failure and desperation. To be frank, just lost my taste for the human race and for everything that's involved in day to day. My ego, wanting to serve out of my own ego, out of my own attachments, out of my own longings, and wanting to be recognized and have relationships for my own purpose, and it's just nothing I've done has ever been successful or felt fulfilling. So I had a very profound experience spiritually with kirtan music and Hanuman, and I wanted to continue to develop that. So I had kind of a practice start at one ashram, and then it wasn't quite, and then Baba called me because there's a lot of Babas out there, and I get confused, and I think that's specifically why I heard the name like Menendra. I thought it was Menendra, but it's Mahendra. I think I was hearing that called me here, and I Googled it, and it actually didn't even show me the right picture of the right person, which is funny. I get here and actually read in the book that he said that he's one with Mahendra, like him and they always were seen
So
together.
it's Mahendra Baba that you're hearing the voice of.
He was just saying Mahendra, and I was like, huh? Like, I don't even know this word. Why am I like thinking of this word? So I Googled it, and I come up with old Haidakhandi Baba's picture, and of course connected to Crestone again. And I've been up here just briefly to visit and buy some clothes and books, and I enjoyed it very much, but I didn't really feel a connection or like there was a place here for me. So I went back to my regular whatever, and it was just like, what just like, this is not satisfying. My life is something missing. And I had a little card with Baba's picture on it, and I had Neem Crowley picture too, and I'd always look at him, talk to him, and then I don't know, it's like something, I kind of like looked at his picture, and I felt like I should be like talking to him too for some reason. I felt like I was like missing something. And then interestingly enough, like when I called Ramladi to come up here and just basically kind of was suggested the karma yoga, and that's what works for me now. I mean, just the mantra and being able to be of service without my ego, and it's fulfilling. Like I don't want to do anything else. I'm happy. I don't find myself like, I'm down here looking at my watch or checking my phone or like, I wonder what so-and-so's doing over here. I wonder what they're doing. I don't even care. Like I'm completely feel like I'm learning to love. Like that love here is, his message is kind of what I've been looking for. It resonates. It finds a place in my heart that's home. So I feel very fortunate to be able to have this experience. I know a lot of people feel like they can't access or they wouldn't be able to be here or have anything like this, but I mean, I hope that it spreads, because I think I'm proof that you can take the dark and the lazy and the ignorant and the drug addicts of the world, and you can be human. Humanity in a good way. Like humanity is in love, not the humanity that I've always known, but learning how to be human, actually. So
Thank you, Tim.
thank you.
If somebody wants to jump in, Satsang is about just sharing what comes up for you as you hear other devotees sharing their stories.
I just have just one little short thought that came up just the last minute or two. It's just how the Babaji's motto of truth, simplicity, love is really the spirit of the ashram. Those three things, if we live in truth. And life in the ashram it may be chaotic, but it is simple fundamentally. It could be very chaotic, but at the heart of it is the simple practice, and what it's leading us to is the love that's there at the end. And I just wanted to throw that in. And I think that's Babaji's way.
That's very interesting you brought that, because that's exactly, I was thinking in a way, yeah, truth, simplicity, and love. I have to say, comment on that, because that's Babaji's teachings, his underlying essential teaching. And then truth is what we're talking about here, or truth, I'm turning on what is the real truth of life and who we are. And then simplicity, I realize is, for me, it's like a really hard one, in my life. I mean, how many bank accounts do I have? How many people? How many social media accounts do I have? How many? Actually,
How many clothes do you have?
I have clothes. In Brazil, I have 3 houses, and I used to, why does he talk about simplicity, But, I guess I've been wrestling with that actually for a long time. I've thought, okay, I can't seem to simplify outside, right? But what I can do maybe is simplify inside, okay? So I can just remember what my focus is, and so that's the simplicity. And then everything else is just going to happen, because I can't seem to simplify that very well. But as long as I keep my focus on the simple truth, of love. And so that's it, trying to take that. So thank you for bringing that out too.
You, by the way.
I think Baba is love for me. Like I look at his pictures and he's just attractive in so many ways, just pure love, It's easy. It's easy this way.
I think that's such a good example too, is that, so many people come here with so many different lifestyles. I'm just shocked. I call it the ashram table. And I asked Muniraj once, why did he name the ashram Haidakhandi Universal Ashram? And he said, because I knew people from around the world would come here. And really, almost at any meal, we have somebody from Honduras, somebody from Brazil, somebody from India, South India, North India. It's just amazing. And like Arnie was saying, it can be construed as, and it feels sometimes like chaos because everybody's talking. The kitchen, dining room is still quite on the small side. But there's such a beauty to it, the meaning of humanity, I think it is. And then some people may have, 3 houses. Some people are living in a little van, Everybody's so different. And yet the goal is the same, is to simplify our lives and to be focused on truth, simplicity, and love. And one thing I love very much is that, people come for a week or a few days or even an afternoon, and they say, how do we bring this peace and love home with us? Because we're not yogis. We still have responsibilities in the world. And it's so wonderful to just say, exactly what you're doing now, in the midst of the chaos of the world, where you're hurrying to work, or you're having to get, whatever it is, your dinner made for the family. If you can remember Babaji's simple teaching, Om Namah Shivaya, or whatever name of God you use, and just keep focusing on that as you do your work for the good of all of humanity. You are a yogi. And your yoga right now might be, your particular dharma, whatever it is. We don't understand always. I don't understand what my dharma is. I'll tell you this story now that I shared a little bit earlier. Just like Arnie's saying, these satsangs and these times together are very helpful because it brings up memories of when we were with Babaji. And it was also huge, and people from all around the world, people speaking different languages. I loved how my children there, this year, they were probably 8 and 10 this particular summer, and we were there for 3 months. And they were playing with children from Holland. There was a couple, they only spoke Dutch. My kids only spoke English, and there were a couple of Indian young boys there, and they only spoke Hindi. And yet they played together so beautifully. It was so fun. And so one time Baba was sitting in what's now the Kirtan Hall, just outside the little temple in Haidakhandi. And the boys, they were all around. And also, I'm sorry, there's also a little girl, Sundar Singh's oldest daughter, from Switzerland, and she only spoke German. So we add that to the mix too. So, and Babaji's sitting there, and suddenly a little puppy comes by, and he takes the puppy in his hand, the children all looking at Baba, and I'm there for some reason, just sitting sort of on the outskirts watching. And Baba all of a sudden, rubbing and was aware that, it was sort of itching, so he explored and found some fleas which we all find in our little puppies from time to time, particularly if they're out and about all the time. And he was picking the fleas up, which was not something I'd ever done before, let's say, because I didn't really have puppies, so cute like that. And then all of a sudden he looked at me, and because I wasn't even so involved, he was more playing with the children. And he looked at me and said, this you job, day by day, picking, and I thought, I never saw this puppy again. It just ran away, probably back into the mountains or something. And I certainly never did it again. But I've always wondered, what does that mean? And so sitting here and being with my friends here and just thinking about it, it's like, I guess that is my job, day by day. I guess that I sit with a lot of people, and maybe just as sort of as a presence for them, and just caring for them, so that we can together look at what's bugging them.
Yeah, what's their irritation? Yes, or things that are not quite right, just the little things. Yeah.
Exactly, and just listening. So I guess day by day I'm doing the flea job. So anyway, I'm grateful to have some kind of thought about what Baba was teaching me, because he was always teaching something, moment to moment. And for some of us slow learners, it takes 43 years to grasp even a little bit of it. But the simplicity is Om Namah Shivaya. When I get overwhelmed with how much there is to do around here, and how many people keep coming and coming and coming, if I can come back to Om Namah Shivaya and just remember, day by day, this is what I get to do, and I'm grateful. I love it. I love all the people, no matter what kind of fleas we all have. Little things gnawing at us.
Yeah.
are the thoughts that aren't the name of God, you know?
That's
Find
great.
that.
Yeah, the thoughts, yeah. Actually, the word, I was told, living in Hawaii for a few years, that the ukulele, which is what they play, you know, actually means like little please or something like that, because it goes so fast. And that's right, it's like our thoughts go so fast. They could all be considered little please.
I think the whole repeating the mantra during the karma yoga has been one of the most profoundly successful practices that I've, in my short time have experienced. And it's just so simple that it's like unbelievable. It's so simple. I'm just like,
That's it. That's all it.
I didn't have to like stand on my head or learn any of these weird poses or like how to breathe right or how to know like wear something or go somewhere. Like I just do what I do and
Just wait, Jen, 20 years and you'll have a little spark of information. Now it's like right from the get-go.
right. It's beautiful.
It's no longer, you don't feel like I need to get out of here like you used to.
No, I love it. Like the more I work, like the more involved I can get in just the mantra, because like my own brain wants to not, like I'm inherently lazy and selfish. I want to lay down and read and be pampered. I want someone to feed me and bring me something to drink. And my back rub or my feet, I want to pedicure, like all this stuff, and it doesn't bring me any satisfaction or any fulfillment. It may bring this like temporary like veil of like what I think is okay, but it's not it. That's not it. It's like no. So,
I often tell people it's not really the practice here, I sometimes call it boring. Because it's not like,
It's repetitive.
it's repetitive.
Yeah.
You do it over and over again. And not lights and bells often. It's like you keep doing it, and as you do it, you realize what's happening inside. And sometimes, sure, you'll have the experience of just feeling and seeing Baba for sure. But a lot of the time, are there more weeds in the garden? Okay, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And the garden's really big for getting all those weeds out. But it works, and it's also relatively easy to integrate, because I've had calls from people, emails, read a book, and so I'm meditating 24 hours a day now, and I'm, and they want to put me in a psychological ward because I can't
work and hold it down.
I can't deal with the energy I'm feeling, people think. So I just feel like Babaji, this time around, was very clear. Our minds are faster than the wind, he says. Actually, just this morning I heard this. To do work with Om Namah Shivaya, the mantra, you can't believe how powerful that is. But that's what he gave us, because he knew this world right now is pretty wild and chaotic, and most of us are not going to be able to handle that. And so he gave something and that's what I tell people. I said, well, Babaji said, do your work while you do your mantra. And I remember even back when I first started meditating, and I think I was 19 years old, I learned from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi the transcendental meditation. And his teaching was similar. He said, if you want a cloth that's color fast, you just don't hold it in the dye for 10 days. You put it in the dye for half an hour, 20 minutes, because he was teaching us 20 minutes of meditation. And then you hold it up to the sun all day, and it fades. But what's left is real. And then you put it back in the bag, and over again. That's how you get your color fast cloth. So that's what we're doing all these years, you're getting more color fast so that we can actually hold on to the mantra and Babaji's teaching and that love and service, even when we're in the midst of whatever our life brings us, which is a lot.
It's just what I was thinking. Only the subtle lessons and the subtle changes seem to stick. These high energy, these experiences that are just like mind blowing. You come down from them, and it's almost harder to come down from that than it is to stay like at a level. And a lot of these teachings and the practices are, it's it's beautiful, the simplicity and the truth in it is like, you couldn't sell it, you can't buy it, you know? Like, if you have to buy the fix or the solution, then it's probably not it, you know, in my opinion. You know,
Well, and to me, also the music, the RT, and the daily practice, morning and evening. I mean, when I first started doing it in India, it was very strange, you know. I didn't know the words, and it was all different culture, I didn't know. But then it would go on, and I felt, oh, something's working in me. It's like working on my emotions and my heart. And I started craving, I couldn't wait to go to RT in the morning or the evening to get, because the music to me carries kind of the emotional feeling of it, so it opens my heart. And then the repetition, like you're saying, the constant repeating it over and over, it sinks in more and more and more. And it's, to me, it's like soothing. It's just very soothing. So it soothes my spirit, and then everything else kind of falls away. So, yeah.
It's very important.
So there was an Indian couple here from Colorado Springs a few weekends ago helping, and they were here for just 2 long days, but doing a lot of service and help and everything. And he wrote the next day, he said, we're home safely. I miss the ashram. It's about 5:30 in the evening and it feels like I should be getting dressed and showered to go to RT. It's like, what's wrong? It's like, you know, it's like, this seemed like the way life should be, that, you know, and that's what we encourage people. Just take it home with you. No, you don't have to sing the whole RT, but it's there, and you can listen to it, and it brings soothing. What Babaji said early on is, there's this book I keep talking about, Vijay Gupta's book, about the first 3 years of Babaji's manifestation, that Vijay was the fortunate one to be Babaji's like personal attendant. And he would just have people chanting, you know, all the time. And Sastraji and other people around would say, why doesn't Babaji give us some talks, you know, about chanting? And Babaji said, what am I going to say that's anything new? You know, people are just going to say, I read it in the Vedas, I read it in the Bhagavad Gita, I read it and heard it from this teacher or that teacher. He said, by making you sing the name of God and the kirtan over and over and over again, that will purify your heart so that when I do say something, you'll actually be able to hear it. So I think that was so beautiful too.
So true.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, just take it home, you know, set up a special place for yourself, whatever's on it, you know, if it's a picture of a mountain or a picture of Baba or some of your other great teachers, and take a few minutes in the morning, set aside, try to set something aside where you do some mantra or song or sit quietly, and then just off your day. It's like, okay, I'm going to the office now, and probably won't think of you once. You know, in my office work, it's very intense. But I'm offering this to you because I know this is my dharma right now. And so, and then during your day, as often as you can, just offer your work, and then in the evening, if you have some time, to once again sort of go back to your quiet place before you deal with dinner or whatever you need to deal with. So it can be that simple. Go ahead, Marnie.
Oh, no, I'm stretching. No, I'm stretching. No, I'm not trying to raise my hand. No, I'm just stretching.
Yeah, so people are coming. Anyway, other people want to share something?
Just say the music and the kirtan, even just listening, having it played and hearing it, I think worked on me to where I could have that quietness in mind or that space where I could hear, you know, the words or the thoughts or whatever that got me here. So music was very powerful. So where I started with just listening to music. And
So when I first came back from India, you know, we had cassettes back on the stage, right? So I'd put the cassette in the cassette player of the car. I'd be driving around, and where did I live? I guess I lived in LA at the time. And so I'd be driving around, traffic was terrible. And I find I'm listening to chanting, and I'm just chanting along. I didn't care, traffic, people piss me off. I didn't really care. It was this huge ton.
That's great.
Right? Huge ton. So that's why I still do kirtan. I love it.
So we're still talking about, come. Ash. Namaste. So some of our friends have just walked in. Would you share cold turkey? Why do you come to the ashram?
Yeah, we come here like every year, like once or twice a year, just to get blessings from Goddess Mahalakshmi.
And how do you feel when you come?
We feel really peaceful and grateful. We feel really blessed, yeah, to be here. It's a really nice place to be here. It's quiet, very peaceful.
And you come from Denver area?
Yeah, we come all the way from Boulder, actually.
Okay, so a good 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
And you just sit with Mother for a while and Baba and feel the peace and drive all the way back. So these are the examples of ashrams, like our teacher said, make them like islands in the sea of materialism where people can come for refreshment and serve. Your whole family is here, and probably by the end of the day, another 50 people will be coming through.
Yeah, every year, yeah, lots of people visit here, yeah.
So thank you. Okay, well, thank you to everybody. Yes? Anybody else have anything more to say before we wrap this up and go to our sacred fire ceremony? Om Namah Shivaya. Bole Baba Ki Jai.